Once in a while, a really good movie is created by a screenwriter or a producer that not only thought-provokes and inspires, but it stirs one's soul and it profoundly moves the viewer. A movie that did that for me was The Bucket List. It's a story of two strangers played by Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, who are both diagnosed with cancer and become roommates in a hospital oncology ward. These two men become very close friends as they share the journey of chemotherapy and surgery, while they openly and honestly discuss their pending death and the dying process. They collaborate on a bucket list, a list of things that they want to do and places they want to see before they kick the bucket. So together they sign themselves out of the hospital and they begin to live life fully and consciously with the time that they have left. And over the course of a few short months, the two men see and do more than most of us do in a lifetime. And one day, as they're sitting in Egypt looking out at the pyramids, one of them tells the other what the ancient Egyptians believed when they came to the end of their lives. As they approached the gates of heaven, they were asked two questions. Have you found joy in your life? And has your life brought joy to others? Now, I've discussed this movie with many people, and we've had some really interesting conversations. And I was surprised to learn that some people believe that they have little or no joy in their lives at all, while others question, what is joy? And how will I know if I have joy in my life? Others were too busy to give it a thought, let alone even think of writing a bucket list of their own. Miracles are unexpected joys, surprising coincidences, unexplainable experiences. Miracles are constantly occurring around us. Serendipities abound in daily life, yet we're not noticing them in our busyness. There's a story of a violinist in the subway station in Washington, D.C. He played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. It was rush hour, and it was calculated that thousands of people went through that station, most of them on their way to work. 3 minutes went by, and a middle-aged man noticed that there was a musician playing. He slowed his pace, stopped for a few seconds, and then hurried on to meet his schedule. A minute later, the violinist received his first dollar tip. A woman threw the money into the violin case and, without even stopping, continued to walk. A few minutes later, somebody else leaned against the wall to listen to him, but the man looked at his watch and started to walk again. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old boy. His mother dragged him along. She was in a hurry, but the child stopped to look at the violinist. And finally, the mother pushed hard, and the child continued to walk, turning his head the whole time. This action was repeated by several other young children. And all the parents, without exception, forced their children to move on. Now, in the 45 minutes that musician played, only 6 people stopped and stayed for a while. About 20 of them gave him money but continued to walk their normal pace. He collected $32, and when he finished playing and silence took over, no one noticed it. No one applauded, nor was there any recognition. Now, no one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the most renowned musicians in the world. He played one of the most intricate pieces ever written with a violin that was worth $3.5 million. And 2 days before he played in the subway, Joshua Bell had sold out at a theater in Boston where the seats average $100. This is a real story. Joshua Bell playing incognito in the subway was organized by the Washington Post. It was part of a social experiment about perception, taste, and priorities of people. The outlines were in a commonplace environment at an inappropriate hour. Do we perceive beauty? Do we stop to appreciate it? And do we recognize talent in an unexpected context? Now, one of the possible conclusions from this experiment could be, if we don't have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world playing some of the best music ever written, how many other things are we missing? Are you giving life the attention it deserves? Attention, presence, and noticing are all a part of living in the present. The December 1935 issue of Women's Home Companion stated, "As life's complexities grow more bewildering, we need all the more to see peace and comfort in the joyful simplicities." Fast forward to October 2011, and we still need those joyful simplicities, perhaps even more. In the book Simple Abundance, a day book of comfort and joy, Sarah Bon Brannock writes, "Joyful simplicities nourish the body and soul by engaging our senses. They teach us how to live in the present moment, and life comes together when we seek out the sacred in the ordinary." Now, I know that we all have days in our lives that are marked by great moments of rejoicing and celebration. Your grandchild is born. Your book gets published. There's a family wedding. But life isn't an endless round of cake and champagne. There's a lot of drudgery to most of our days. The sheets have to be changed, dry cleaning has to be picked up, and the garbage has to be put out. But to keep our days from being all drudgery, we've got to discover all the little joyful delights that bring us peace and pleasure. We're told to find the joy in your life. But what gives us true joy? For each of us, the answer is different. Yet it's surprising how easily pleased we are. In the Book of Awesome, Neil Pasricha writes about life's little joys, the 1,000 little things that make us smile. Everything from picking up a Q and a U at the same time in Scrabble, to getting gas just before the price goes up, to when the thing you were going to buy is already on sale, or licking the cake batter off the beaters, to still finding time on the parking meter when you pull up, or when the socks from the dryer all match, to the parking lot pull-through, popping bubble wrap, unexpected snow days, and laughing so hard that you make no sound at all. All of these serve to remind us that the best things in life really are free. Some of my little joyful delights are waking to the smell of fresh coffee, watching the sunrise, tending a garden, watching the birds at the feeder, the joy of giving a gift, the healing energy of a hug, looking up at a star-filled sky or at the harvest moon, receiving a handwritten letter by snail mail instead of a 1 or 2 line text, sitting on the porch with a friend, or being a volunteer, for there is much joy in being of service. Life is a duality of light and dark, and there is a dark side of joy. It's suffering and sorrow. Some people are actually addicted to sorrow and suffering. In being so, not only are they robbing themselves of joy, but their failure to appreciate all the goodness that life has to offer actually diminishes that good. Now, I know that we've all lived part of our lives in wonderful circumstances that we failed to appreciate. Reasons to be happy were everywhere, but somehow we didn't connect with them. You know, we've become comfortable with a way of life that is actually a slow death. Our constant working, busyness, taking care of others, and rushing around relieves us of the responsibility of being fully alive. It kills us slowly and in a socially acceptable way. When we do too much, we lose our joy in the doing, and all we see is the task at hand and the deadlines. When we do too much, we've grown afraid to dream. And when we deprive ourselves of our hopes and dreams, we relegate ourselves to keeping our eyes to the ground, carefully calculating every step, and what happens is that we miss the pictures in the clouds and the double rainbows. To be without hopes and dreams is a place of loss. Loss of our birthright as a human. For the soul's awakening is gratitude. The soul's essence is simplicity. The soul's serenity is harmony. The soul's passion is beauty. And the soul's purpose is joy. Why are we so afraid of living our lives? And what would our lives be like if we decided to show up for them and live them? And why does it take the diagnosis of a life-threatening illness, a major surgery, or a serious accident for some of us to start living life fully and consciously? Joy scares some people more than pain. Pain is familiar to a lot of us. And joy breeds dangerous hope and the potential for disappointment. We often expect too little joy in life, and we settle for less than our souls actually need to flourish. And yet, the most natural emotions in the universe are bliss and joy and ecstasy. The saying that life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but the moments that take our breath away, reminds us of that interrelationship of joy and bliss and wonder and awe. Awe is a feeling that is rare in our busy lives. Awe means stopping and noticing. how that morning or evening sky changes dramatically within minutes. Or stopping to notice the huge flocks of blackbirds that are gathering at this time of the year, noticing their synchrony in flight, how they change directions on a dime and there's no mid-air collisions. Or noticing the wonderful complexity of nature in that crystalline structure of a snowflake, or in the many-faceted eye of a dragonfly. Joy is the highest energy of all. It's the magical sense that everything is possible. Joy springs from appreciating the gifts within each moment. Joy allows you to attract and create your present and future moments at their highest possible levels. Whatever we focus on will expand. When we see the negative, we attract more negative. Where we see the positive, we attract more positive. That is the universal law of attraction, and was the premise behind The Secret. Do you wake with joyful expectation or awful dread? You have the choice each day to wake up and say, "Good morning," or "Good grief, morning." It's always a choice. If you don't consciously prepare yourself each day to practice wonder and joy, you get really good at practicing stress and pain and anger and fear. Cultivating an attitude of gratitude is essential to happiness. All that is required to receiving gratitude's gifts is to make a commitment to be thankful on a daily basis, knowing that every time we arrive somewhere safely, we have something to be thankful for. Or every time our children or our grandchildren rush up to meet us and smile, or our animals greet us at the door, we have something to be happy about. Every time we get out of bed and can take a deep breath and go for a walk, we have something to be happy about. Marianne Williamson writes in her book, Everyday Grace, "Children are one of our greatest lessons in happiness. They're constantly challenging us to enjoy the moment, as the next one will not be the same. There's no sense in saying about a small child, 'Well, I'll enjoy watching her playing joyously in that pile of leaves, but I'll do it later, or next year.' But next year, she won't do it in the same way. 2 years old gives away to 3 and 4, and before you know it, there's a teenager standing there who doesn't want to rake the leaves at all. And you'll wonder where those years went, but they'll be gone. Hopefully, we learn to celebrate the good while it's happening, to feel gratitude and praise today for what has sometimes been such simple pleasures. We are given so much each and every day. And how simple it is to celebrate life and the gifts of life in everything that we do. Celebration doesn't have to be saved for those special occasions. We have the possibility of living life as a celebration. The ultimate goal is to develop a joy for life and to follow your dream. Become what you want to become. Whatever path you choose, do it with enthusiasm and passion. Never apologize for what you do well. Take joy in that. Feel blessed by your abilities and look for ways to share the gifts that you have been given. Now, writing a bucket list is a reflective exercise. It's a meditation of sorts where you have to stop and think about, what is it I really want to do? And then the idea is that you're supposed to write it down and then put it into a plan of action. When this movie first came out, my niece's grade 7 teacher discussed it in class. And she gave them an assignment to write their own bucket list, and it had to have at least 100 items on it. I hope that she attends to that list rather than living a life of regrets and should-haves. And I wonder how much that list will change over the years. After I saw the movie the first time, I went looking for my bucket list that I had written many years ago. I didn't call it my bucket list at the time. It was more my wish list of hopes and dreams. And as I reviewed it, I realized that I was still wanting to do almost everything on my list. And in fact, I added several more items. But ever since then, I've been making a conscious effort to do the things on my list and have found such joy and delight in the process. According to a recent survey, 69% of Canadians have a bucket list, yet only 45% have a will. Interesting. So what do Canadians have on their bucket lists? 19% want to rekindle an old friendship. 29% want to meet a certain celebrity or go to a specific concert, possibly to see or hear that celebrity. And the number one thing on the bucket lists across the nation? 83% of Canadians want to travel to a specific destination. So I guess my pilgrimages on the Camino de Santiago in Spain and hiking the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, which were on my bucket list, were on the mark. And so I challenge you to dust off your dreams, rediscover the joy, the exuberance, and the hidden spirit that so many of us bury when we become adults. It has been said that most people are not afraid of dying. They're afraid of not having lived. Randy Pausch was the author of The Last Lecture, and he wrote about the joy of life. Time is precious, he said. Embrace every moment. For what is life if not a series of moments? Go on those trips you've always wanted to take. Spend time with family and friends. Love like you've never been hurt. Because eventually, we come to understand that love heals everything, and that love is all there is. So live in that moment and seize every one of them, because time is all you have. And one day, you may find that you have less than you think. Randy died of pancreatic cancer, leaving behind a wife and 3 young children. When we hear sobering advice like that, there comes from deep within a longing to give up the path of struggle as a way to learn life's lessons. Finally, we're ready to embrace the path of joy. Learning to live in the present moment is part of the path of joy. Only when we're aware of the present will we have the opportunity to be fully alive. This moment is right now. It is what we have. How often we have squandered the treasure of today and dreamed of the fortunes of the future, only to mourn for the loss of this day. Today, we can see the excitement in the eyes of a child over some new discovery. Today, we can listen to an old friend before we get on to the next task. Have we missed today by not being present to it? Will we later weep tears of mourning and wish for its return? How much better to live it today. Just a normal day. What a gift. Amen.